Okay. So, I'll be discussing about folk culture today. You know about folk as such, folk medium, folk. So, when we say folk culture, it is important to understand how folk culture is different from popular culture, and also the difference between high culture and low culture. Then we are going to discuss Vauna. Uh, which is very important art form. Uh, it's a regional art form that we will study. Okay, so when we are talking about the folk culture, there are certain differences of folk culture and popular culture. First, you need to know what is popular culture. This is basically a low culture, right? Popular culture is low culture. It is different from the high culture because it doesn't need any education. Of the people to understand this culture. So it doesn't need a literate one, need a people to be literate one to understand that culture, that popular culture, right? So it's a low culture. So when you talk about the high culture, it is a culture of abstraction. We say it requires education for the audience and for those who consume the high culture to understand the art form, and also it requires high skilled personnel, high skilled, yeah, it requires higher skill to produce this kind of culture. So that's the difference between you see the high culture and a low culture. So popular culture is a low culture, but when we talk about the high culture, that is basically elite culture. Okay, so when you say folk culture, we can also say it's a low culture, but when we talk about folk is different from popular culture. How folk culture is different from popular culture? Okay, that is important. First is that folk culture is very naive in essence. Naive in the sense it's rural, it's naive in its essence, and the way it is also developed, the way it is transformed over the generation uh, and transmitted. So it is very naive yet dynamic. But when we talk about the popular culture, it is not naive. It is urban. Popular culture is urban. You talk about the Comic Con, talk about bike races. These are basically popular culture. You have also made a show which is based on a very popular idea. Okay, that you see brain rot, Mahayot. It's a part of popular culture, right? Because you get to find the interest of the people in it, and it's urban by the very essence, and also you could find the international that importation, international. You see the trope in it, in the sense that you get to find popular culture is international. It's not regional. So when you talk about the that folk culture, it's very regional because it is limited to and narrowed by a regions. It has stemmed from the very region, stemmed from the very locality, right? And hence it is folk. We call it a folk because it stems from the very region. You talk about the Bhavaya culture. Bhavaya is very specific to Gujarat community, Bhavai theatre. And we also talk about Bhavai. There is also a folk culture. There's a dance from and theatrical performance, which is very popular among Rajbangshi communities. So it is very particular to that community. You talk about the Sau dance of the Purulia community in Odisha, in Bihar. So that is very typical and particular to that community, Purulia community. That so dance is typical to that Orissa and Bihar, right? So you could actually see that it is limited to the region. So a region, a geography can define folk culture, but geography cannot define a popular culture. Popular culture is international and it is transmitted and travel across country to country. So whatever is popular, suppose we talk about McDonaldization. So McDonaldization is a cult. So we start loving that pizzas, and we talk about donuts. That's a cult. That's a result of consumption of popular culture. So we talk about started loving, jeans. We love chow mein. Chow mein is a part of popular culture. Everybody wears jeans. That is also a part of popular culture. Okay, but when you talk about folk dresses, folk attire, so these are not that popular. It is popular to that regions, to that boundary, to that geography and locality. So it will not transcend the boundary in that sense, but we have some theoretical component also. In one class, I have discussed about some theories, how folk also travel across the boundaries and get a different form. That also we have in terms of narrative. Okay, but you see that folk will always hold an essence of one particular place, and that is called place based identity. So we have an identity of the place which can be defined by the very folk culture, folklores, okay, and also through folk medium, which is disseminated through the folk medium. So place based identity can be revealed through that folk culture. Any craft which is made by the local community will be very distinctive to that locality and distinctive to that place, and place is known by that particular craft, right? So we have that Sortebari in Hajo. Hajo is known for that pitol material, you know, that Sortebari is known for bell items. So it is known by Sortebari as a place is known for bell items. So bell item has given a place based identity to Sortebari, to those even makers, bell makers, to those craftsmen. Okay, so you see that folk is naive. It is also pre-industrial at the same time, and it is pretty much restricted to one locality. Okay, and it has given that identity, which is place-based, to a community of people to that locality. And we also see that when we talk about the origin at the same time, folk culture and popular culture, we say that folk culture is pre-industrial. It is related to pigeon community, agricultural community, we call it, like who are very naive. That's why it is related to naive. It's not urban culture. Okay, and it is also many a time relatable to oral tradition. Folk culture is orally transmitted, right? It is not even written. You may not find a record of folk culture. Nowadays, we have been talking about archiving and recording the folk culture, but that is an effort of documentation from our part. But basically, folk culture is a part of oral tradition. It is also pre-industrial at the same time, not prehistorical, it's pre-industrial, and it is pigeon centric. But you see that popular culture, it is stemmed from, originated from industrial revolution. So that is another distinction between folk and a popular. And popular culture is consumerist, highly consumeristic. So folk culture is not consumeristic. Like you see, popular culture will create a kind of trend among you. Even the TikTok, social media, the trend which you enamored, you love, is a part of popular culture. Right. But folk culture will not create that kind of trend because it is not consumeristic. So it will have some delight, it will have that longing, community have longing for that folk culture. Because Bihu is something which is very special to us, very specific to us. So each community has a specific culture and a dance, and you will have that longing for that culture, right? And when you perform that culture, you feel that delight. So that delight and longing will not see, pang, longing, delights will not be seen in any kind of popular culture as such, but that will be seen in folk culture. Okay, so folk culture is not consumeristic, it is very organic to the community, whereas popular culture is consumeristic but not organic to the community. Okay, so it's a non-organic culture, you might also say. So whatever the kind of style, Uteranam style and Bollywood movies, and you see the story of Bollywood movies, which beyond the abstraction, there is no abstraction in it, right? So popular culture is low culture because it could be understood by anyone. So you can say the culture of labor class, culture of even you see the those low class people who do not need any kind of education. So popular culture is not bad. You are not saying that it is good, it is bad. I'm just saying that the essence of culture varies, essence of one culture varies. Like we talk about high culture, it needs education and skills to understand and to produce. But low culture and popular culture doesn't need that education, but you need an understanding of the mind of the people, what people want. So that psychological that symbiosis you are supposed to establish with the people, so that you can actually understand people, what people want, and accordingly you can produce for people. If people want to soap opera or regular drama, so you are making that drama for them and you are making them consume. Okay, but again it is people centric, so whatever is popular you are picking that up. Okay, so this any kind of trendy you are picking it up. Okay, because according to you that's where public interest lies, and you want to feed them. Okay, so we have that's why we can see that those Sas Bahu serials, we can actually see that one hero killing multiple villain and can fly even. These are all possible in popular culture. So Bollywood and kick, and you can see we have those Farah Khan's movies. Okay, these are also part of popular culture. Maximum commercial movies are part of popular culture. So you always have a happy-go-lucky ending, happy ending in those movies, right? But in folk culture, we do not have it. It is very organic. It is different. It is not a part of high culture even. It's also a low culture, but it is organic. It unlike the consumeristic popular culture. Okay, so that is about folk. Now we are moving to understanding the Satra and Bhaona. These two institutions are very important. Bhaona is a performing tradition, we know, and when you talk about the Bhaona, we also need to understand where it is performed, how it is evolved. It's very important. And also Satra, it is a religious institution. We all know, right? Religious institution of Assam, through which Shankardeva spread the religiosity, Vaishnavism, and it was also a starting of new Vaishnavism movement in Assam. So when we talk about the Satra, it was started by Sankardeva only in 15th century Bhakti movement. You're talking about Bhakti movement here. You need to know about Bhakti movement because he actually travel different pilgrimage and from where he got inspiration to spread Bhakti movement in Assam, or Bhakti, that devotional songs. He wrote the devotional songs. He also wrote various prayer songs, and he created various dance form, various theatrical forms, and also rendered those form. And from that rendition, we get to find the Bhaktism. We get to find the essence of Bhakti movement. Okay, so we talk about Vishnu, like we usually Vaishnava is related to Vishnu, but Sankardeva has introduced Krishna. Unlike you see Vishnu, Sankardeva has introduced Krishna. That is that Ekharoniya Nam Dharma. You also know there is only one God, because at that point of time society was ill-fated, ill-fated society. There are a lot of hierarchies. It is laden with hierarchies, and also there are caste discrimination, class discriminations, and and society was not secular even. And at that point of time, Sankardeva, after visiting the places, after went for pilgrimages, he gained experiences, and he found that it is through Vaishnavism. Through Vaishnavism, you can change the society. Okay, you can bring reform into the society by bringing people together in the name of one God. Okay, and he actually started that Akharoniya Nam Dharma, we call it. That is also, that is a one God concept. And he said that he also understood the psychology of the people, that people are very enamored and very interested to absorb themselves into the leelas of Bhagwan. And that's how he started various art form performing traditions like Vauna. Vauna is one of his art forms. Apart from, we talk about, you see, the Bargit, then Satriya dance. These are also art forms that he propagated. Okay, so Bhaona, when we talk about the Bhaona, so it originated in 15th century and it is very unique performing tradition of Assamese. Okay, so we also see that it is influenced by different theater. We call it a theater. It is influenced by different form of theater at different period, different parts of India. We can talk about Yakshagana theatre in Karnataka. We have that Karnataka Yakshagana theatre. We have Kathakali. Kathakali is a dance in Kerala, and we also have Hawaii in Gujarat. Okay, so Rash Leela, Ram Leela in Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. All these art form, all these theatrical rendition have an influence in Bhaona. So we cannot say that it's unique to Assamese, but it's not something which is highly innovative. But yeah, because you actually get to see some essence of different, like theatrical tradition in Bhaona. We also have different forms of Bhaona in Assam. So we have Sabha Bhaona, and we also have this is called offered bhavna. Sabha bhavna, we call it as sabha. Sabha in this the meeting. That is a regular official that meeting bhavna which you get to find in Sattra. Sattra is a religious institution established by Sankardeva, and in Sattra and in Namghar, in regular interval and especially in April, March, April, May, during that 3 months, a bhavna is being arranged and the whole expenditure is borne by that villagers or Satra community and community in and around the Satra. So that is called the Sabha Bhavna. We also have another Bhavna that is the offered Bhavna. Offered Bhavna is actually a tribute by one particular individual or a family to the socio-cultural and religious tradition uh, uh, or even to the that religious cult of the society. So it's a kind of offer or a contribution or a tribute, at a kind of tribute to the society and religious tribute, you might say, cultural tribute to the society. So these are a kind of bhavna we get to see at contemporary time. But we had also direct, we had two different kinds of bhavna. We have one is Ankiyanat and one is Matrivasa bhavna. Onkiya Nats are created by Sankardeva and Madhavdeva, basically two gurus. We have two gurus, two reformers. They have created this created the Bhavana called Onkiya Bhavana. They call Onkiya Nat. So we have six Onkiya plays, Onkiya Nats, which are being um, uh, written and composed by Sankardeva. We have that six knots like Keligopal, then Parijat Haran, Kaliodamon, and Ram Vijay. Like that way, there are there are six bhavnas, form of Ankya bhavna or Ankya Nat, which are composed by Sankardeva. Like way Madhav Deva also composed a few bhavnas. Those are called Ankya bhavnas. Apart from Ankya Bhavnas, we have Matrivasa Bhavna. So one is Ankya Bhavna and one is Matrivasa Bhavna. This is called Matrivasa. Okay, Ankya Bhavna and Matrivasa Bhavna. Matrivasa Bhavna is not written in Brajavali language. The speciality of Ankya Bhavna is that it is written in Brajavali language. It is written in Brajavali language and composed by two gurus, Sankardeva and Madhavdeva. But here in Matrivasa, we get to see the language is local. So local dialect, local language. So we have some bhavnas written by Satradhikar in Assamese language instead of Badavali language. So that kind of bhavna is called Matrivasa bhavna. Okay. So these are two forms of bhavnas which are there apart from the Sabha bhavna. We call about Sabha bhavna. This is Sabha. This is a kind of meeting and also offered bhavna. Okay, so these are another two set of bhavnas. Okay, now you see that uh, I have written a paper Actually, that was a part of study carried out by one of my uh, student. She is not a research scholar, basically student part of dissertation. She carried a thorough study, and that too during COVID period, pre-COVID period, and just after the COVID period, she carried out because. But COVID period was still continuing, but she carried that study. She visited Sattra, and she also talked to those Satradhikar. Okay, and that was a very good study, and we also came up with a paper. So paper was also developed. She is now well placed in Pradhan NGO. And but it was modified. The paper was modified. First, three sections were written by me, and then whatever she has contributed as an empirical survey was also accumulated. It was combined, and that's a very good paper. It has been published, but while publishing that. Journal has made some mistake. I'll say that heading is not even highlighted. There is also repetition of two sentences I have found later, so about which I pointed out and wrote to the journal, but it was not rectified. Okay, so that paper is available now. I can give you that paper. You can go through that paper. So there you get to find about three forms of Bhaona, and which are available in Assam. Apart from those three forms of Bhaona, like we have Mukha Bhaona, we have Barisauria Bhaona, and Buka Bhaona. We also have Dura Bhaona, Fojia Bhaona, and we have also Hajira Bhauna. Hajira Bhauna is also kind of Barisamriya Bhauna. Dura we call the Dhruva Bhauna, where Dhruva is the Sitradhar, which is the main character. It's also a kind of like it's a Bhauna which is also initiated and originated in Assam by Sankardeva, but many people say that Dura Bhauna is being inspired from Bengal. That is also a Bengali culture, which we get to see in Coach Bihar. From Coach Bihar, Dhura Bhavana has traveled to Barpeta, and from Barpeta, we actually see it is again traveled to Kamalabari Hotra. So it is actually performed in Kamalabari Hotra. So there are different Hotras now you need to know in order to study Bhavana. So Satras are basically of three types. We have Mool Satra, we have uh, this is called as Anjana Patra, and we have Salbanti Patra. Mool Patra are established by Gurujana. Mahadev, Sankardev, and Mahaprabhu Sankardev and Madhavdev have established the Mool Satra. We have those Mool Satra. Okay, then we have Anjana Patra. Anjana Patra, and we have also Salbanti Patra. Salban, Salbanti Patra. So Mool Patras are established by Gurujana. Then we have Anjana Patra. These are established by the disciple of students of Gurujana. And we have also Salbanti Patra. These are in large number because these are also some of the branches of the Mool Sutra. They got the resources and the materials from the Mool Sutra. So there are not many sutras established by Gurujana. After their death, also we get to find his disciple, his students have established certain satra. And from Mool Satra, we get to find some material, some resources. We get it. Basically, when we talk about the resources, we have those Namkusa, Kirtan, Dhamma, ityadi. Right. So those are being taken, and materials are being taken from the Mool Satra, and those Salvanti Satra were also established, and everywhere we get to find. And then we see that there are some changes in the ritual and the tradition of the Satra. Satra, initially, we found some Satra very Udasin. Okay, Udasin Satra and Ardha Udasin and Gihasti. So, based on the um, following of rituals, Satras are divided into Udasin Satra, then we see Ardha Udasin Satra and Grihasti Satra. Udasin Satra means you see the people are highly indifferent of married life, of worldly pleasure. Okay, that material life, worldly pleasure cannot attract those Udasin people. So that's how we get to find the Udasin Satra, like Dokhin Pat Hotra is another Udasin Hotra. Auniati in Majuli, we have Udakin Hotra, Dokhin Pat Hotra, Auniati, Gormur. These are Udakin Hotra, these are also Mool Hotra. Okay, Auniati, Dokhinpat, and you see Gormur Hotra are established by Gurujana, uh, like the Sankardev. And we also see there are Satras, Ardha Udakin Hotra. Here there are some Bhakotas, they can also take a married life, not necessarily that they will also adopt celibacy. But in Udahin Satra, every Bhakata, Satradhikar, Dekaudhikar, there are also Odhikar, Dekaudhikar, Satradhikar, Guru, Sishya. These are also people, their name, because it is an institution. Okay, so an institution is such that there is a separate governing body, there are separate houses, and structure is such that you have also Manikut, then you have Namghar, you have Otitihala, you have Bhughar, we have Korapat. Okay, Korapat is the very entrance of the Satra. Okay, and that is the Korapat. We call it Korapat. If you actually visit a Satra, you need to maintain a lot of cleanliness and with that purity of self, because uh, that's what they want. So we talk about the Korapat, which is the very entrance of the Satra. Then we have Otitihala. We also have yeah, Sarihati around the Hotra, around the main Sotra where Kirtan, that Monikud is kept. In Monikud, you have Kirtan Kuha, Nam Kuha, everything is kept. So these are some of the resources that we got from our Guru Janas. And we also have Nam Ghar, that is a congregational prayer hall. And in its Vaishnava village in Assam, Vaishnava villages, people who believe in Vaishnavism, you get to find one Nam Ghar, at least one namghar you will find. Okay, this is basically a prayer hall. They actually pray and devotional pray the chant the devotional song in the name of the god. Okay, Krishna. So that is also attached to Satra. There are also Sarihati. Then there are also, you say, Guru Griha, which is there. Okay, Bhoghar is there, through which they offered food to God, like that way. The Athitikhala is also there, and the Soghar is there, where you get to find different souls, mukhas. They usually prepare the dresses and all, so you get to find those mukhas, and the performance tradition. Part of the performance traditions are kept in the Soghar. Okay, and also any kind of performance happen in that Soghar. There is also a Soghar. Okay, like that way we see that Satra is a very prominent, very important, unique institution in Assam. Okay, and Bhaona is a performing tradition which originated in Satra only. So if you talk about the performance of the Bhaona, it is originated in Satra first. Then you see there are some innovation it has adapted. It get to find some changes, some deviations also, and shift over the years. So space centric changes we get to find from Satra. It has also performed in Namghar, and then it got a bigger stage across the villages, and gradually it has also got a space in, like, district stages, then also national and international stages. So the way Vauna has transformed over the years, that is a space-centric transformation we get to find, and also structure-centric transformation we get to find. We say when you talk about structure centric, in the sense that we have Mukha Bhavna, we say apart from the Dhura Bhavna, Faujiya Bhavna, these are also form of Bhavna. We in Assam, these three forms of Bhavna, Mukha, then Bare Sahoria or Buka, are very prominent Bhavnas. Okay, Mukha Bhavna mass culture is very important culture. Okay, that is associated with the bhavna. So initially, when you say that when bhavna is being performed, a king cannot even enter without a mukha. It is said that king cannot enter into the stage and into the show without a mukha. He has to wear a mukha. So that was the tradition. And Sankordev was the first one. We call him Kunikar. We call him Kunikar because he is the mask maker. Okay, he made the mask. Sankaradeva made the mask. Okay, he made the mask of 14 Porishad. What is that 14 Porishad? And that was after he listened to the popular demand of the Bhakatas. Bhakatas wanted to see 14 Parishad of God, goddesses, and devatas. Okay, so they actually wanted to know how they look like. So Sankaradeva made those 14 Parishad of God, goddess, different form of God, goddesses for them, and also some you see bird and animals. So you get to find like jambu bunt. It's a beer that is used in Ram Vijay. Jambu Bant is a beer that there is a mask of Jambu Bant. We talk about Hanuman at the same time. That's a monkey. That is Geruda is a bird. We find that Geruda, that's a bird, that animal, that mask of the animal. Okay, mask of Jambuban, mask of that Hanuman. Okay, like that which he made apart from those 14 parishad of god and goddess, not goddess, basically the god. He made the mask. That was so he was the first mask maker. That was in the very initial days, and it was followed later on. So there was Satradhikar. Satradhikar is the head of the Satra, and it is a ritual in each and every Satra that each time a new Satradhikar is elected, a Bhaona is supposed to be composed by the Satradhikar, new Satradhikar, and is to be played. So this is also another rituals in Satra. And hence, when you talk about the performing tradition of Bhaona, you cannot even detach it from the very institution and space where it is performed. Okay, so here it is important how Bhaona is performed and significance of Bhaona. You see how it is actually see transformation of Bhaona from even like Satra to international level. Now. You also see that in Mukha culture, we have some distinguished personality and also some satra like we have Samagri Satra, Gormur Hotra. You get to find Mukha culture much more prominent in Majuli, and that Notun Samagri Satra, Gormur Hotra, that Mukha culture is prominent, and there are also Patradhikar like Kosakanta Deva Goswami, then Pitambor Deva Goswami, and the son of Kosakanta Deva Goswami, we have Hamchandra Goswami, then Dharmakanta Goswami. They are excellent mass maker, and they also wrote various plays in Brajavali as well as in Assamese language and local language, and performed those plays. And this Hamkanta Goswami and that Dharmakanta Goswami also open a school, Sukumar Kalapit, to teach the mask making art to the people of the surrounding villages. So you see that initially Satra actually maintained that hierarchy. Women are not allowed to enter into the Satra. In Udasin Satra, you cannot get to find any women. Women are not allowed to enter to the Monikut, to the middle of the Satra. They could actually come, and many a time women are supposed to pay 400, along with even other, like, we call it those lower caste people, to enter into the Satra premises. They're supposed to pay 400. Women are also supposed to pay 400 to enter into the Satra premises. But yeah, you see the irony of the fact is that they are the one who usually move, cleans everything they usually done. Now it is being changed over the years. You see that that was not the tradition which was introduced by Gurujana. That tradition was introduced by his disciple actually. So Gurujana was himself, Sankaradeva, Madhavdeva, both were non-vegetarian. Especially Sankaradeva was non-vegetarian. He eats even the monks and all. Okay, but you see that Udasin Satra people tend to maintain purity, and why those Satradhikar and the Satra do not want, you say, people from lower caste to enter is because of the purity factor. They brew alcohol, they have that monks and all that non-veg, and that's why they are not supposed to be allowed, and they could not follow a rigorous routine that those you say so-called sacred and the pure soul can perform, and that's the logic behind it, as they put on. Okay, but you see that over the years there is a change in the rituals, and hence we have some samhatis came up. We have those Brahma Samhati, Purush Samhati. You should know about it. We talk about the Brahma Samhati. Brahma Samhati. We also talk about Purush Samhati. Purush Samhati, Brahma, Purush. Then we talk about Nika Samhati. Nika Samhati. And we talk about Kala Samhati. So, so these divisions are based on the rituals and the performances in each satra. So Brahma Samhati belong to the Udasin Satra, and they have full restrictions on entry of the lower caste people, entry of women. Now also, they are too conservative and orthodox. So Purush Samhati is similar line. They also prefer. They think that they consider that Gurujana has introduced these very traditions and they are actually following. But actually, not. This is not the case. Gurujana has introduced a different traditions, but his disciple has again changed it, reformed that traditions, and they make it Brahma Samhati, then Purush Samhati. Nika Sanghati is also there. Nika Sanghati, you get to find there is not much differences in it, but gradually you get to find some relaxation in each samhati. Suppose in Purush and Nika Samhati, you get to find Ardha Udakin. These are called Ardha Udakin Sattra. So you find Phakatas who are married, not necessarily they will maintain the celibacy and all. Okay, so there are also Grihasti and Sishyas are usually live outside that Satra, but you get to find that Sishwa in the sense the student, the disciples, they are supposed to be celibate, but not necessarily that Satra and Satradhikar are supposed to be celibate, supposed to preserve that or observe that celibacy. So in Purus and Nika Samhati, we get to see some changes in terms of Grihasti life adoption. And in Kala Samhati, we don't get to find any kind of like, that orthodox traditions. So Saprathika are also married, and you also find there are relaxations in terms of rituals. Not necessarily that there will be 14 Namprakhanga. In Brahma Samhati, we get to find 14 Namprakhanga. Namprakhanga in the sense that in the morning, then evening, then afternoon, then evening, uh, then noon and evening. So there are four times. So first in morning, then afternoon, then noon and evening. Four times there are Namprakhanga, and all those namprahangas are known as 14 namprahangas. Okay, so it's very difficult also to carry out this 14 namprahangas, but Brahma Samhati is trying to maintain it, carry it out, but in Kala Samhati you get to find some kind of relaxation, not necessarily that 14 namprahangas will be performed. And it is also based on the financial that support they usually get from government. So when there is no political will, it is also very difficult to follow that 14 Namprahanga. And now from Brahma Sanghati also it's very difficult to follow the 14 Namprahanga. But you get to find relaxation in terms of custom, relaxation in terms of rituals, and many people from lower caste, from tribal communities are becoming Satradhikar and leader in Kala Samhati. Okay, so they also that those rituals are started preached by those people from different ethnicity, different class, different caste. So that is a kind of proselytization. That is Assamese proselytization. Proselytization means conversion to Vaishnavism that was made possible by Kala Samhati. Okay, so this is basically a Grihasti life. So we can see Udasin, Ardha Udasin, and Grihasti cult. Okay, so that is there in Satra. Now you see that when you talk about this Mukha culture, again we are like moving parallelly. The one is like Satra culture and then Bhaona. Bhaona is originated in the Satra only. So Mukha culture is also like there, which is um, attached to that form of performing traditions. So big mukhas were made. We call it lutukuri mukha. Initially, lutukuri mukha is the big mukha. Lutukuri mukha, which cannot be moved. Okay, a big size mukha. But now you see some changes, some elasticity is found in the mukha, the weight is moved. So basically, bamboo is used in making this endoskeleton of the mukha, and then clay use, then cow dung is also used, then you see lime is used. Okay, and then layer of muslin cloth is there, it is sun dried. Then you get to find the embellishment and paint it, and the paint of those mukha. So that's how we see, we already have some idea about how puppets are being like made. And in 10th 11th century only we have some evidences of having those puppet dances, and it was it Uh, Actually, I found a mention about those puppet dances in Kalika Puran. So somewhere it is there in literature, and it is mentioned in Kalika Puran. So there is also mention about the puppet dance in Assam in 10th and 11th century. And apart from this Bhauna, we have also similar kind of folk tradition, Kusangan. Kusangan is very popular in Gwalpara district. So you get to find the evidences of those folk traditions during that period of time when you talk about Bhauna, origin of Bhauna in 15th century. Okay, and there is one that we know this is Sinho Jatra. You know about Sinho Jatra? Sinho Jatra is the first Ankya Bhavna that is also created by Sankar Deva, that was also composed by Sankar Deva. Sinha Jatra is basically a play. It is composed out of, you see, um, that is painted cloth, painted cloth is used in a background. Okay, and in front of the painted cloth you get to see people wearing the mask and perform the bhauna. Sino Jatra, that is also we call it Jatra. Jatra word came from the Bengal again. That's a kind of theater, and that painted cloth is there in the background as some you see some to create a backdrop actually, some motifs and also related to that context. Context was set as a background curtain. So, and in front of the curtain, so that people wear the mask and enact. So that was called Sinha Jatra. That was the first Bhauna that was enacted by Sankardeva. And thereafter we see that Mukha culture was there, but there are changes in this whole structure of the Mukha. Now we see Mukhas are much more livelier and also lighter. So earlier mukhas were very heavy. So you cannot even move from this place to that place wearing a mukha. But now mukhas are very lighter and these are also livelier. There are different kind of embellishment which could also put. Earlier you see the color was natural color was used. Okay, natural ingredients were used as a color. So we have hydral, we have vermilion. Okay, we have black chalk used for black color. Black chalk was used. Dal was used. Then we saw that yellow arsenic was used, hydral was used, then sindoor was used. Like that way we have used natural color. Okay, now we also see that you see cosmetics which are being used in making the mukhas, and you see over the years it has got lot of changes in terms of mukha culture, and it because it catered to the community which around it. And anyhow people can relate themselves to the Vauna tradition. They come very close to the stage, and they started absorbing themselves into whatever being performed by the protagonist. Okay, and also relate to their beliefs, their views, their perspective, and they imbibe it. So if a Vauna is showing that victory of goodness over evil, so that is being imbibed by the society. So in that way, Vauna happened to be one of the uh, tool to educate people, and many people also participated in the Vauna because this is also a medium to earn pity. And they said that instead of offering service in Sattra, even when you offer service in Sattra, then also you gain God. You gain God, huh? And in that way, and if you perform or enact the deeds of the God, you also, you see, gain the pity and also gain God. So it is also way to gain pity, it is also way to gain God. So hence people perform bhavna. Many people, many villagers started performing bhavna. So apart from being the performer, they also help in organizing the bhavna later on. Initially it was in Satra, and gradually from Satra it is moved to Namghar and also village premises and the village stages in open field. It was moved to that open space, and then villagers they themselves perform the bhavna, and they started making the mask. So in that way, that also become a source of livelihood. Mask making become a source of livelihood. Initially, there are villagers. You see, the mask makers are available in Samaguri Hatra, in even Gormur Hatra, in certain Hatras which are very specific to mask making. And people in the villages are basically engaged in agriculture, animal husbandry, basket making, and all. Okay, but they also started making mask nowadays. Okay, so that becomes like, source of livelihood. And now tourists also visited. Okay, tourists visited, they want to buy mask to decorate the wall. Okay, so that's how you see that they started making mask even for selling purpose, for a market. And so masks are not only for wearing during Bhaona, this is also for um, gaining the tourist and for the market. Okay, so you can actually see a sea change in the whole structure of the mask. Structure, not only the way it is made, but also the way it organizes the people around it. Okay, uh, apart from it, this is a kind of mukha bhavna. Then we also have bhuka bhavna. We have bare sohariya bhavna. You should know about bare sohariya bhavna and buka bhavna. Bare sohariya is different from buka. Bare sohariya is known as Hazari bhavna. We call a hajarta bhavna, hajar, thousand bhavna at one time. Okay, we call it Hajari Bhauna or Barasohariya Bhauna. So this is typical to one particular region, especially Jamuguri Hat. You get to find this Bhauna every like 4 to 5 years of interval. So this Bhauna is organized by the people in Jamuguri Hat, and you find that uh, in that Bhauna, the essence of the Bhauna, the purpose of the Bhauna is to build a community. Okay, is to build the community fellow feeling. This bhavna is performed by the migrant people in a sense. Those who were initially performed the bhavna were the migrant people, and they had to face the conflict of even hill people and tribal people in that area. And that's why they thought of um, creating a solidarity or community bonding among the tribal and themselves, and also other ethnic communities, and they devise out this bhavna. So every each community come up with their own set of stories, and which are being played. So the uh, uniqueness of the bhavana lies in the stage. So stage is made in such a way that multiple bhavanas could be performed in one particular stage. So this is not one stage, one bhavana. So you have multiple stages and there are multiple performers, multiple groups are performing. So as an audience, you will be sitting in front of one stage. Another group of audience will be sitting in front of another stage. But you will not get the story. And idea and purpose is also not engulf yourself, absorb yourself in one storyline. Idea yourself to feel that it's spectacle of having multiple stories played together. Okay, so in one stage, one group will be staying for 5 minutes. Then that group will move to the next stage. Another group will come. They will perform, and then again in a that is cyclical format. That group will be performing. Not the similar performance. The whole story will be performed. So in each stage, the group will have different performances. Okay, and as an audience, you are enjoying it. You are enjoying the spectacle of the Bhauna. So you need to decide which story you will follow. But it is at the same time very difficult also. And the way stage is made is wonderful. And one documentary is also made on Bharia Bhauna by your seniors. So you should watch that documentary. So you will have a better idea about Bharia Bhauna. It's a very unique concept. So it has been existed since 1797, since for last 200 years. So it is not a very old also, you say, but this is very unique to Assam. And again, we also have Buka Bhavana. It's getting dark also. darker. So we have Buka Bhaona. Okay, Buka Bhaona is different from Baresahoria Bhaona. Buka Bhaona is basically played on Nandutsav, basically in Janmastami. Okay, so they actually sport bukas, and people in certain Sattra, there is a Sattra in Jorhat, that is Kong Khapar Maj Thai Hatra. We also have a Satra in Sivsagar, Namoti Khatra. Okay, they perform Buka Bhauna. They sport with Buka on Nandutsav, on Janmastami. They collect the Buka. Buka is clean from clean places, 6 to 8 inch deep. They dug the Buka, and initially bullock cart was used to carry the Buka. Now Buka is being transported through tractor, and in front of Namghar open space Buka is being heaped and spread out. And there is Namprahanga first. In the very morning, there is Namprahanga. Then people also sports with the boka. They play with the boka. And in that boka, you get to find til, ghee, sandan, tulokhi. So all these ingredients, people usually milk. So all ingredients are being supplied. Initially, all ingredients, tea, then ghee, milk, and tulokhi are supplied from the household surrounding villages. Nowadays, you won't get to find that villagers are also a bit, you see, mm, uh, tight in terms of that is supporting those ingredients, and it is being bite, and it is mixed with boka. So all these are mixed with bokas, and people usually play with the boka. And while playing the boka, it is different. So it is not like there is boka and you are playing. So you are playing a play, a performance, that is Janmo Jatrar play. We call it Janmo Jatrar play. Janmo Jatra play is basically Janmo Jatra. Janmo, like, so we call it Janmo Jatra. Okay? Janmo Jatra play. Still Janmo Jatra play. Janmo Jatra play was written by Gopal Dev. So with Buka Bhauna, Gopal Dev's name is associated. Okay, so it is not like they're sporting buka. And you see, you won't even get to find many people know about buka bhavana, because when I wrote this paper, many question about buka bhavana, what kind of bhavana is this. And it is not simply, and people can relate it to North Indian culture, that वो जो पहलवान होता है, वो लोग स्पोर्ट्स करते हैं ना वो बुका के साथ. But it's completely different. We have a play, we have a written play, written by, composed by Gopal Dev, which is being performed. Okay, but they found themselves dipped in the mud, and they perform the play. So very interesting concept. So it is there in Assam. So in Kongkhapur, much, it's Jorhat, it is there. Kongkhapur, I'll share that paper. Kongkhapur Masthai. Kongkhapur Masthai. Hotra, the Namoti Hotra. We have Namoti Hotra in Sipsagar. This is in Jorhan. This is Sipsagar in Roha, in Jamuguri Hat. In certain places, it is being played. Buka Bhauna is being played. Uh, so this is briefly about, very briefly about Bhauna. So there are also different forms of Bhauna, as I have already told you. So you can study more. Okay. So basically, Mukha, Baresahoria, and Buka Bhauna. These are three forms of Bhauna. Apart from that, we have ritualistic Sabha Bhauna, and we have Afad Bhauna. We have that Onkianat, and we see that Matrivasa Bhauna. And Matrivasa Bhauna is written in Assamese language and local dialect, and Onkianats are written in Rajapali language. That's how we know. And basically, Onkianats are composed by Guru Janas, and they wrote in Rajapali language. They did not write in local language. And they also wrote songs, prayer, Borgit were written in Rajapali language. Those are prayer songs. Okay, and there are some similarities in the forms of bhavnas. There are different forms of bhavnas, and you can find the similarities of gayon, bayon, inclusion of dance, inclusion of music, and gayon, bayon, etc. First similarity. Second similarity is the predominance of satradhikar. There's sutra, sorry, sutradhar. predominance of Sutradhar. So in each Bhaona, you get to find a Sutradhar. Okay, in the different forms of Bhaona, there will be a Sutradhar. So that is one thing. And third theme or aspect which will make all the bhavnas a combined whole or similar whole is not a combined similar whole. Third that aspect is the use of mythological theme and motif. That is also another aspect which you get to find across all the bhavnas, and in all the bhavnas you will find uh, you see this is called the votima is also a prayer song, sloka, and devotional song which is being included. Okay, so like that way, so we see that some similarities are there in all forms of bhavnas. One is mythological theme, devotional theme. Okay, and then we use of votimas, devotional songs, use of gayon, bayon, nam prasanga, rituals, etc., and also dominant role of sutradhar. And nowadays, you see this Mukha Bhavana has gained acclamation, and it is not confined to those like village precinct. It has actually, it has moved beyond that village precinct, and it is being translated also. So there are bhavnas which are being translated. There is one NGO that is Prajamaya Unmes in Jamugrihat. They are translating bhavna. They are also playing English bhavna, so they can cater many more youth to perform bhavna. So people are also getting interested to perform bhavna. There is also English Bhaona. So there are bigger number of audiences. The number of audience has been increased. And there is also digitalization of Bhaona, which is not a very encouraging trend, because we get to find some applications which are there. So we can think about the prospect. But so far, we do not see a very encouraging trend of digitalization. We have a All Assam Bhavna app. But there, yeah, All Assam Bhavna app is there, which you get to find some recordings of the Bhavna, and there is also a provision of inviting the link from common people who have watched a Bhavna. They can also put the clips, or the whole Bhavna can be recorded. But there is a problem in terms of, you see, the quality of output. Okay, so it has to be integrated into the very organizational innovation, in the sense that there are changes in organizational and technological innovation. Changes in the sense that mm, the way Vauna is being organized is being changed. Now, so who organizes the Vauna is being changed. The space is being changed. Okay. And there are also all Assam Bhavna competition which are regularly happening nowadays, and that's how it gained attention and attraction from people across, not only across the regions but also across the nation. So that's what, across the nation it is also a bit far to understand, but across the regions we have started getting some acclamation of Bhauna. So you should understand this performing tradition. It's a performing tradition. So along with Bhauna, I have discussed about Sattra also. Okay, because Bhauna originated in Sattra, and you should also understand the Sattra. And nowadays, it is also very difficult to think about sustainability of Sattra culture. So there are also Satra Mahasabha, and we got some political will. It's not like that there is no political will. And there are also people surrounding the village, they are also being preached. And those who are unemployed are being gathered or given some job in the Satra. So that is also being done. Okay, so it's important to understand the Satra culture. And one documentary is also made on Sattra last time. Your senior has met, but they could not stay for longer duration and could not get that much footage. But it could also be a better one, a revised one, if they could incorporate it a few clips and also more perspective. It could have been better. Huh. So, but it is very difficult to get the bites and get to know from people who are living there because of their conservative and orthodox mindset. Okay, and because of the purity of self, the way they consider themselves. So that is one thing. Okay.